Now, last night, another Liverpool loss last night, as Klopp's men were beaten 1-0 at Anfield. But Chelsea, Liverpool's fifth home defeat in a row, their worst home record in the history. The loss means Liverpool remain in seventh, and Salah had people talking last night. He looked frustrated, being subbed off in the 62nd minute, shaking his head for a few minutes after as well. For more on Liverpool, we're joined by former midfielder Danny Murphy. Dan, morning, pal.
Morning.
How are you, Danny?
Morning, Dan.
Morning, Danny.
Good morning, fellas. You okay? I didn't want to come on, to be honest, after that defeat, I have to say.
Well, Dan, let's start with the midfield, because at times Chelsea were bossing it. They had plenty blue shirts in there. They were pressing Liverpool, not the other way around. And when Mount got on it, you felt something was going to happen.
Well, I thought the Chelsea performance from all over the pitch was really good, Al. Defensively really good, had the courage to play out from the back with the quality they've got. And on the break, they looked really, really dangerous. I was on drive yesterday, and I thought he'd play Werner high up to try and get down the sides and down the channels. And you know, if we can work that out, watching Chelsea and Werner and watching Liverpool play recently, then maybe Liverpool should have. So it wasn't a shock, was it, that they'd gone there and won after Liverpool's recent performances and level of performance. They just look way off that team we saw last season. They can't score. They don't look confident. They're lacking a bit of energy. And as you said there in the intro, taking Salah off with half an hour to go, your best goal scorer, whether you think he's playing well or not, that was a strange one for me.
And they look really vulnerable, Danny, over the top, didn't they? Werner playing on the shoulder, you know, very unlucky not to get his goal, just an armpit offside. And then Mount, obviously, over the top again, a ball over the top. And, you know, Liverpool were too easy defensively. I know when Van Dijk's there, they can push a bit higher, and knowing that he's got his pace to get back to make a block. But obviously Fabinho can't play like that, can they? And when they play a higher line, it's so inviting for the other teams to just say, all right, when you get half a yard over the top and your way.
Yeah, well, normally when they play that way, Ray, obviously, as we've seen for the last couple of years, they smother teams and they score goals when they're on top. So they don't mind giving away a few chances. And when you've got pace like the players you said, it's not as big a deal. But you do have to adapt to the players you've got. You know, Trent likes to fly forward. You're never going to stop Trent going forward because that's what he does so well. And then you're left with those big spaces in the channels that he leaves with Fabinho, who's just come back in, to be fair to him, trying to chase Werner over the top. And it was a tactic they used very, very well. And it ultimately won them the game. But I do have to say, I thought that the quality that they played with to get out at times, people talk about Liverpool's press not being very good, but they still play some great stuff, Chelsea. And Mason Mount, I mean, I've been banging the drum about this lad for quite a while. What a player he is. Yeah. Super goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliant goal. Dan, you know, listen, we've said this time and time again with Liverpool's defence not looking like they usually are when you've got all the players available. Does Jurgen Klopp need to adapt the way he plays? Because pressing high doesn't work. And is that something that he can do with the players that he's got?
I think, yes, there could be an argument to say that the system could have been tweaked, Trev. But I think when you look at recent results and performances, you're not scoring any goals, not looking like a threat is so un-Liverpool-like. When you look at the games where they've lost at home to Burnley or Brighton, or lost to Southampton, they weren't getting done over the top because they were pressing high. They just weren't being creative and playing with the energy and the same dynamism that we've seen in the past. So it's a balance, you know. Yes, against Chelsea they looked vulnerable. I agree with Ray, but I think overall a lot of the games they've lost or drawn against lesser opposition has not been because they've had the high line. It's been because they're struggling to be creative.
Dan, Fulham against Tottenham. Some people could say Fulham were a bit unlucky. And once again, VAR. You know, it does my head in just talking about it now. I just don't know what handball is now. I don't know what offside is. It's gone. But were Fulham a little bit unlucky?
Thought they played well second half. I don't know if you saw it, Al, but they played with good energy, got forward well, you know, passed the ball around Tottenham well. Got in the box a lot. I mean, that rule, obviously I understand why the goal was taken away because of the rule. You know, any ball that hits the hand now, if it leads to a goal, it's absolutely ridiculous that we are taking goals away for that. I mean, there's a lot of ridiculous rules at the moment in football. We can all agree on that. But this one is by far the most ludicrous. How you can deprive a goal and a team of a point who've worked so hard to get one because of that is beyond me. That'll change. They'll have to change that. It's a joke.
Danny, one positive from Liverpool last night, Jota's back, and I think they've really missed him. I mean, to mix it up front, I think he plays at the weekend. I don't know if he's fit enough to start, but I hope, if he does start, who would you leave out at the front three?
I wouldn't. I'd play the four of them. I'd go for it now.
Yep.
I think they've got to go for it, Ray. You know, when they played the four of them at City and they played two holding midfielders, played a back four and two holding midfielders, kept the fullbacks a bit more at home and let those four get on with it. That's what I'd be doing. I'd let the four of them go. I think they are in a real desperate position now if they want to get in the top four, and I think it's you might as well just go for it.
Yeah.
You might as well put all
who would
four
your
of them on
top
the pitch
four
and see
be,
if they can-
Danny? It's difficult, mate, because it changes every sort of 10 days, but who would your top four be at this moment?
Well, I still think United will stay in there, even though they've had a bad run. I think Chelsea are looking nailed on. I would have said Liverpool would have bounced back, but I haven't seen enough, unfortunately, and that's hard to say coming from me. I think Everton might sneak in, and it pains me to say that, but they look really strong defensively at the moment. The likes of Godfrey's been terrific, Holgate, Keane. They look really difficult to beat, Al. And sometimes at this stage of the season, it's not how good you look on the eye; it's how you're getting over the line in each game. And they look really difficult to play against. But they've got a big one at the weekend against Chelsea, haven't they? That game in hand.
Dan, Thiago in the middle of the park, he's got a lot of criticism. Good footballer, as we know. Is he what Liverpool need in the middle of the park, or would you like to see Fabinho play more forward?
I think at the moment Fabinho needs to play at the back. He does give the experience there. I'm a big fan of Thiago. I have been from day one. I do understand the criticism to a degree, but we are talking about a player who's come into the team after nearly half a season out injured. A team that's not playing well, that's low on confidence, that he's not playing with the same players that... If he'd have walked into the team, sat in front of Van Dijk and Gomez, alongside Fabinho and Henderson, for example, you'd be seeing a different player. I really believe that. He might not be the dynamic box-to-box midfielder that everyone thinks Liverpool need, but when you're playing well, when they're back to playing well, you'll see somebody who can control tempo and can do everything in midfield you need to do. I think he'll be fine when they get everyone back.